Hi, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. For today's episode, I want to talk a bit about my experience and process working through burnout and a loss of motivation, which is something I struggle with fairly often. It kind of happens in cycles for me throughout the year. And throughout the years of being somebody who has a creative business and who just in general has a low energy and has to learn how to manage it in society, in the society that we exist in, I've learned a lot of things about what works best for me. So I wanted to share it a bit for anyone else who might be struggling and not know what to do. And also what I've learned throughout the process of personal growth in general and what it's taught me about how we, if you relate to me, work when it comes to understanding ourselves, right? The self-awareness process, understanding what works for us, what doesn't work for us, and allowing us to let go of some of the control that we might be holding on to because we feel like we have to have control over everything to feel safe. All of this is kind of interconnected. So I want to get into it. And I want to say as well that, I want to preface that the kind of thesis of this episode is that sometimes you have to let yourself fall so that you can give yourself the opportunity to pick yourself back up. This is something that I've had to remind myself of. It's this phrasing is just what I think recently written in my journal to help me understand what I mean by this or what this experience has felt like for me. A lot of the time when it comes to my own loss of motivation, my loss of energy, my burnout, which happens, again, like I said, fairly regularly, every like quarter, really, I go through ups and downs, which I think is normal, right? Like we're humans, we're part of nature. Nature has its own cycles, its own ups and downs, deaths and rebirths, For me, I've learned that there's really no point resisting those downs, right? There's no point resisting being in a loss of motivation or feeling burnout because it's going to happen, especially because our society right now, maybe always, has been built to extract as much energy and productivity out of us as possible, which is a shame, but we exist in it and we have to function in a way that feels best for us. I am not in any way someone who I would consider hyper productive. I'm not super, highly ambitious. I'm not somebody who's trying to climb any ladders. Like that's just not who I am as a person. And for a long time throughout my life, I've resisted admitting that. I haven't wanted to admit that because it seems wrong. It feels wrong because everyone tells you you shouldn't be that way, right? You should be a go-getter. You should be always doing things out and about, demanding more, reaching for more. And that's not realistic or enjoyable for everybody. And that's okay. And understanding that that's okay has been a huge lesson in my life. Now, that isn't to say that I'm not driven in my own ways. I think if you were following me throughout my own career online, I create a lot, I do a lot, but that's when I'm driven, when I'm in my cycles of engagement, productivity, energy, and then I'll dip because that's just how life works, how humans function. At least I do. And so it's okay sometimes to not always be, in this heightened level of energy and productivity. There are ups and downs and there always will be. And I've had to really accept that about myself and allow myself to feel okay with being this kind of person. And I think that's a huge part of this process as you work through your own burnout. If you relate to this, it's okay. You don't have to be that kind of person. And I think the biggest issue with this, or what makes it harder to work through burnout or work through this loss of motivation and come out the other end of it, is feeling like you shouldn't be this way. Resisting, accepting, and letting yourself just sink into it. That's going to make it so much harder for you. And so what I've had to learn and what I'm currently going through, really, this is me coming out at the other end of my burnout and loss of motivation. If you follow me online, you've probably noticed that I've been kind of MIA. I haven't posted on TikTok in a while. I haven't really posted on Instagram. Like I'm just not in the mood for it. I'm not in the zone for it. My brain feels a bit fried. And because of the work I do, which requires me to be very introspective, it's exhausting. I haven't posted on Substack, which I've been posting very consistently on for a while. And me from a couple of years ago would have felt a lot of shame about this. I still kind of feel it. It's still in me. But I also know I've learned throughout repeating this process over and over again that if I resist it, if I keep trying to go, to push, to do as much as I was doing before at the level of energy and productivity I was at before, I'm going to burn myself out even more. And it's going to take even longer for me to come back, to bounce back from it. So now I know that I have to just let myself sink into it, let myself be pulled under. And, it's scary letting go of that control. The way I envision it is kind of like when toddlers are tired and they need a nap, but they don't want a nap, right? They're resisting it. They're holding back. They're grumpy. They're crying. The parent knows they need a nap, but they're holding on for dear life to wakefulness because they don't want to go to sleep, because maybe they fear they'll miss something, miss having fun, playing, whatever. The same thing kind of happens in my own life, right? I fear letting myself sink into a loss of motivation, right? Kind of disengaging, shutting down a little bit, resting, which is really what it comes down to. I fear letting myself rest because what if I miss out on something? What if I miss an opportunity? What if I lose, everything I've built? So I don't let myself rest, or that's the fear that comes up when I think about resting. And that's not really true, right? Because really what would happen is if I continued to push myself, burn myself out more, that's when the risk of losing everything I've worked towards would happen, because I'm hurting myself even more. I'm injuring myself emotionally, mentally even more, which will make it even harder to recover from. So the longer it takes to recover from something, the more likely it is that I won't be able to bounce back and get back to my comfortable level of productivity. Not hyper productivity, because I've also had periods of time in my life where I've been functioning at a very high level of productivity, thinking that I could sustain that. When you're in that headspace, you kind of think you can sustain it because you're like, yeah, I feel really good right now, so why can't I do more? Or why can't I do this much forever? It's because you're not going to always feel that way. You're not always going to feel that good all the time. That's just it's not realistic. You're going to dip at some point, because that's the cycle of being a human being who needs rest and recovery. Just like you couldn't work out every single day without any rest days. You need the rest days. It doesn't mean you're going to lose your progress if you rest from working out. That's, it is scary to think about it at first, right? You think, yeah, I'm going to lose all the progress I've worked towards because I'm taking a day off. And so far, me working every day or doing something every single day has led me to where I am. So if I take a day off, I'm going to fall back down to where I was. And that's not realistic, right? The point is that you've created a foundation built on the energy you had at the time that you could sustain. And that is going to now carry you through this period of rest and recovery. You're kind of resting on your laurels for a little bit. And you should be proud of the fact that you've built enough to let you do that right now. And the point is, or the goal here should be to not have to get to a point, not to push yourself to a point where you have to rest for a huge amount of time, like a huge recovery time, because you've pushed yourself too far. It's about recognizing when you hit that wall, when you get past the brink of exhaustion, and stopping there, not pushing forward. And I've had to learn this the hard way. I've done this so many times where I'm feeling the exhaustion, I'm feeling the burnout, and I resist it because I don't want to give up. I don't want to stop. I don't want to slow down. I'm worried. I fear things. I'm worried I'm not going to be able to come back from it. What if I never want to do this again? What if I never want to start again? What if I lose it? Like, there's so many fears and narratives that come up the moment I hit that wall, right? The moment I feel myself stepping over the brink of burnout. But now I learned that that's exactly when I need to stop. The moment I feel it and then all these narratives of fear come up, that's a sign for me that, it's time to rest. Because those narratives of fear are revealing to you that you are on the precipice right now. And your ego, your toxic ego, is trying to stop you from, feeling like you can rest, feeling comfortable, feeling safe, because there's so many fears that are tied to the idea of rest, relaxation, feeling safe enough to rest. If you've been living in the mindset or with the mentality that rest is not something that you deserve, then that part of you will prevent you from experiencing it. But that's a sign now, for me at least, to recognize that this is the moment. It's right now. Don't keep pushing. The fact that you're feeling, and the point is that the resistance of this, right, the fear that's coming up, trying to convince you to keep going, that in itself is a sign that you need to rest. And another component to this that I've learned that's really helped me continue practicing it in this way, right? And understanding it better and learning how to stop when I need to stop and rest, which has helped me so much, because this past week, I have felt that. I felt so burnt out. I've actually scheduled some time off next week for myself, knowing that this was going to happen. I scheduled it a couple of weeks ago, knowing that I'm feeling it a little bit. Let me schedule a week off. I just scheduled it a week too late, which is so funny. I wouldn't have been able to predict it. I tried to, but I was a week off, and that's fine. That's life. It's okay. But, or 2 weeks off. But that's okay, because I took some time off last week. I really slowed down. I slowed down my momentum. And yeah, I had to actually sacrifice certain things throughout that time. I've lost some followers on certain platforms. And that's okay. I'm actually letting myself get comfortable with that too, because it doesn't mean it's going to continue that way. It's just a necessary sacrifice. And sacrifice is going to exist no matter what you do. You're going to sacrifice something. So either I sacrifice a few followers and a bit of momentum and consistency, or I sacrifice my well-being and my health. Either way, I'm sacrificing something, right? So for me, I took the last week very slowly, and I really let myself sink into the feelings of exhaustion and let myself really think and sit with the thoughts and fears that were coming up throughout that time, which is a lot of it was, maybe I need to not do this anymore. Maybe I need to just not be creating as much. And when I let myself really think about these things, let myself not resist them, not fear them, just really allow myself to sink into these thoughts and narratives, I realize after a little bit that they just want to be heard, right? These parts of me just want to be heard by me. There's a part of me that wants to acknowledge that, yeah, this is exhausting. It is tiring, and it's not always easy. And sometimes it is, something that I don't maybe want to do all the time. Maybe there is another kind of way of life for me that I could be doing that would be a little bit easier in other ways. And also I know, now being on the other side of it, that that is true, but not totally true. Not true in all of me. That's a part of me, right? And that it's true for that part of me, but not for the entirety of who I am. And that's okay. It's about letting myself hear that part, listen to them, let them express themselves. They're not wrong. They're not something that I have to resist. They're not something that I have to shame myself for. It is part of me, and that's okay. Those parts exist, and they should exist because they give me different perspectives on myself and on my life. If I ignored them, I wouldn't be able to, and didn't hear them out, I wouldn't be able to recognize that, okay, maybe there are alternatives. If I ever do feel like I want to not do this anymore because it is too exhausting, there are alternatives. That part of me sees them and understands them. So it's good to hear them out, not resist them. So I let myself hear myself out this past week and really sink into it. I've journaled about these thoughts, and I've really felt them because they do feel true for me in the moment. They feel very true for me. They're very convincing in the moment. But I also know objectively, because I've gone through this so many times, that I'm probably not going to think that way in about a week. I kind of already know. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just knowing how your brain functions, how you function, the patterns you exist in. I think we all exist in certain patterns. So now I'm better at recognizing them objectively for what they are and allowing myself to just be taken by them for a little bit so that I can then work my way out of them in a way that feels sustainable and healthy. Because if I were to force myself out of them, to not listen to these thoughts or narratives, I would exhaust myself. It would be really hard, because I'm being sucked under, kind of like quicksand. You kind of have to just relax into it, and then you'll be released. You'll be able to get out of it easier. And so I've learned to do that with my own mental and emotional state. It's pulling me under for a reason. It wants me to see something, it wants me to understand something about myself, and I should listen to it. It knows. There's an inner wisdom that I sometimes try to deny because I want to feel in control consciously. I want my conscious self to feel completely in control of everything, and I want to be, on the same energetic level all the time, and I want to never stop, but that's not realistic. So now I'm trying to accept the fact that I'm a human being, as we all are. And I think this is particularly important for those of us who are perfectionists, people pleasers, who deny our own needs and experiences for expectations from others, from society, whatever. It's really important for you to understand that you are a human being and you can't function at a specific level forever. And it's okay. It doesn't make you bad or wrong. That's just who you are, and who you are is valid as you are. Now, obviously, if there are things that are happening, patterns, cycles that are harming you, that are preventing you from existing the way you want to most of the time, then yeah, that's something to look into a bit more. Maybe speak to a professional about that, whatever. Yes, it's not about accepting everything completely and being okay with it, even if it's hurting you. But it's just about being aware of your patterns, your cycles, and knowing when to rest when you need to, and when you'll work your way out of this, and trusting yourself too. I think self-trust is a big part of this too, because the fact that I've done this so many times, I've gone through these cycles so many times, and in the past, I resisted. I saw what happened when I resisted. I didn't trust myself to know that, okay, Kat, if you just let yourself be in this for a bit, you're going to work your way out of it. Because I didn't let myself trust myself then, and I saw what happened, right? The repercussions of that. I know now that while it feels scary, I feel out of control, I trust myself because I've gone through this so many times. I trust myself to know when it's time to rest, right? So I'll listen to myself when I tell myself, hey, you got to slow down. And I trust myself that I'll work my way out of it, that I'm not going to be stuck in this forever because I know myself now. Again, self-awareness is really important. Journaling about this so you have reference to these things when you need to look back on them, super important. So I trust myself. I know that I'm not going to be here forever, but it's okay to rest. It's okay to be in this right now because this is what I need right now. There's a reason I'm being called to it. I need it right now. It won't always feel good, kind of like a toddler who doesn't want to take a nap. You don't want to, but you need it. And you kind of have to be your own inner parent as well to this inner toddler. I need it. So let me just be in it. Let me, acquiesce to it so that I can get out of it faster. Not because I'm trying to be productive again, but because I know that the sooner I let myself just indulge in this moment, the sooner I'll be on the other end of it, because that's just what happens. And to tie this back to the thesis of this episode, which is sometimes you need to let yourself fall so that you can give yourself the opportunity to pick yourself back up. What I mean by that is sometimes you have to show yourself that you are able to handle moments like this. And so if you never let yourself fall, whatever that might be, I don't mean purposefully putting yourself in positions where you fail, pushing yourself to fall. I mean, when you're in moments where it's going to happen because that's just life. If you don't let yourself fall, you're not going to show yourself that you're capable of bringing yourself back up when you need to. It is kind of doing yourself a disservice to not let yourself experience that. So for me, one of the best experiences of this, because burnout's going to happen, a loss of motivation is going to happen. I have to accept that. I have accepted that. Now I look to the bright side of it, which is that I now can show myself that I'm capable of hoisting myself back up when it's time. Yes, it's scary to fall. It's scary to lose the productivity, the momentum, but it's going to happen. So there's no point denying it or resisting it. And now I get to show myself that I am capable of bouncing back, that I'm capable of pulling myself back up because I've learned so much about myself, because I've allowed myself to be in a position where I've regained some strength and some energy because I've rested, and I think that feels really good. So hopefully this helps you if you're struggling with this, if you've experienced these cycles as well and you don't know really how to work through them, how to think about them. Hopefully this gives you some perspective and helps you work through your own burnout and helps you get to the other side of it. Because I know it's scary, it's uncomfortable when you're in it. It does feel like you're never going to get out of it. But again, just from my own experience, if you relate to this, like I would say, I'm not a therapist. I'm not an expert in this. It's just from my own experience, my own process. This is what I've learned. And this is how I would, I guess, coach myself through it. Which I do. This is what I do. I coach myself through it this way, which is that you're not going to be here forever. You are going to make it out the other end. You just have to let yourself sink into it. I know it's scary, it's uncomfortable, but just stop resisting, stop controlling. Just let yourself be in it. And the sooner you let yourself do that, the sooner you'll be out of it. And then you'll probably be in it again, and then you'll be out of it again. And that's just the cycle of life. And and it's, again, scary, uncomfortable, I know, but a necessary part of the process. So if you want to talk about these things in more detail with me, feel free to book a one-to-one call over on my website. If you want to read about these things, I write a lot over on Substack, like I mentioned. And if you want to see my short form content, follow me over on TikTok and Instagram. Other than that, thank you for being here, and I'll be back again soon with another episode.